Hi, Eric. Thank you so much for joining me this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Thank you. Thank you for you joining me this call and getting the time out for our audiences today. So we have an interesting topic to talk about, which is five don'ts for entrepreneurs and what they shouldn't do. So before we get to that topic, I'd love to know more about yourself, how you end up being an entrepreneur.
Just unlucky, I guess. No, my life, very fortunate, had a lot of good opportunities. I've had a life as a software engineer and running manufacturing companies, and I really enjoyed making things. It's a lot of fun, right?
Right.
Making cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I was on a project in Colorado, and I started looking at um, what was emerging as, obviously the cannabis market is very mature
Hmm.
for its in Colorado compared to the rest of the states in the U.S.
Yeah.
And CBD is a molecule found in the cannabis plant, and it started showing real therapeutic capabilities. So I had worked in the pharmaceutical industry at that time, and I said, I'm curious about making products with this ingredient, and started actually field testing them, and saw tremendous therapeutic capabilities. So 17 started a company, Myoderm, making products, specifically transdermal products that you apply to your skin and drive into the muscle and connective tissue for pain relief, because the literature was pretty clear that there were capabilities for that, and we proved it out in field
Hmm.
testing. And so we make products now for topical pain relief and skincare.
That's great. And is that like a CBD you do, right?
Yeah, we use CBD as a key ingredient.
Okay. Yeah. And you work with the worldwide or just in the US space right now?
Primarily US. We do have some distribution in the EU. We have a Hungarian distributor,
Okay.
but 99.2% of our sales is in the US. So we're well distributed. We're distributing in the largest CBD store, which technically is GNC.
Mm.
We're the number one product in their category, and we're sold through Dick's Sporting Goods, which is a big retailer here, Rite Aid, which is a big uh, pharmacy here, and lots of independent retailers. Of course, we sell online.
All right. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, let's talk about like with your lot of experience in like a business world for like a decades of experience in running the businesses for yourself. What that today's topic, which is like five don'ts for entrepreneurs. So what are them five don'ts like what you experienced?
Well, I can say, through my experience, and these mostly are learned through pain and suffering, which
Hmm.
is kind of the entrepreneurial experience, because you're trying something new. And to that point, the first thing you want to do, like when I was looking at the market, and I really wanted to make something that was innovative.
Yeah.
And that is the key, because we don't need more of the same. Like, if you're just making another same, I don't recommend starting that business. Now, you
Mm.
may be a brilliant marketer, and somehow or another you get a ability to sell it better than the competition, or it's a race to the bottom, you sell it cheaper, things like that. But the world really doesn't need more of the same. We've got a pretty mature market out there. So try to innovate. And innovate simply being inventive, something new, or a new combination of things, then commercializing that. So that's what real innovation is. When you hear that, where a lot of people don't even really can wrap their head around it, but it's pretty simple. It's just something novel, something new that is commercialized.
Mm.
So if you can commercialize something novel, you've got something there. People are
Yeah.
going to be like, this is new. I like it. I want to buy it. I'll spend money for it. So don't do more of the same. Innovate. So that
Innovate.
was a big one. Obviously, starting Miterm was focused
Yeah.
on that, because we use a new ingredient, CBD,
Yeah.
and pharmaceutical technologies, specifically transdermal, to drive it through the skin into the muscle and connective tissue. That's a big one. Um, Actually, the second one's the most important, though,
Mm.
and the academic literature is pretty clear on it. Um, if it doesn't fit, don't jam it in. So, what does that mean? Timing is the most important element in business,
Yeah.
period. I mean, you can probably attest to that yourself, right?
Yeah.
If if you're not if it's not the right time, you're not going to be able to succeed no matter how much effort you put into it. And usually it's pretty evident if it's the right time. The markets are ready, you get traction with consumers, regulatory environment isn't too prohibitive. These are things you got to really pay attention to. So I imagine you've bumped into that yourself.
Yeah, definitely. The timing is sometime like I remember when I first started out, working like 80, 90 hours and wasn't making like a right now I work like 2 hours a day compared to what I used to do. And it's just the timing, and you have to like give some time for business to grow, and also you have to see the market, how they're reacting. Are you actually promoting the product they actually looking for, or like it just I'm just thinking like this product gonna sell well? So yeah, timing is an important part of the business. That's the thing though, right? A lot of people start a business and they don't get that timing till like 5 years, 10 years in business, and eventually one year they they go from like a zero to like multi-million dollar business with just a one good run, good year. So they had to wait for the one good year, like probably 7 years, 10 years, some of the 15 years.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
And folks listening, if they're interested in entrepreneurship or are entrepreneurs,
yeah,
which is really, if you get down to it, it's starting something new and novel. Like if you're
mm,
starting a small business, timing still matters. You can have good timing, you have bad timing.
yeah,
But entrepreneurship, where you're really innovating, bringing something new into the market, that is critical for timing. And rule of thumb, overnight success. Like people come up to you and say, like, one day you just made it is
yeah,
10 years. It's 10 years. It takes 10 years for overnight success. So burn that in your brain. Um,
yeah. Like I
oh,
started my journey when I was like 19, and right now altogether it's like a 10 years since I started businesses. So to see the success, I'll say like the last couple of years. So it took like 8, 9 years before I get to the pinnacle, like it came to the seven-figure mark, my valuation of my company. So the first business was like a learning experience. First 3 years, like
totally.
I just lost money. We sold the business for 5K. Can you believe it? 5K. We put in like a 40, 50,000, all of the hard work and everything. We just come up with a 5K, just save myself from bankruptcy and just transfer over everything else. And otherwise it will be disaster. Like after that, when I come to my second business, was my marketing agency, when I started involved into it, like I learned so many things, the mistake, everything like minimized in the first couple of years, because I know like running a first business and giving the ability to learn from it and adapt and what mistake I have done and I shouldn't do, and that actually helped me to being where I am today. So it's definitely is a key element of like a timing, and it's a must for
And
like
still,
entrepreneurs.
people probably come up to you and just like say, "Hey, man, you're successful now." Just all of
Mm,
a sudden happened. You're like, no,
yeah.
it didn't. It was 10 years.
10
10
years,
years
yeah,
of grinding it out.
yeah. It
Well,
happened with like a business and thing, sportsmanship as well. Like a lot of people see like 18 years old and they on a basketball team or football team, but actually see them like they started out when they were 6 years old or 8 years old. So eventually it's like 10, 15
right.
years of like a grinding before they actually go for like a professional calling for like a playing for NBA or playing for like a professional football league. So you're right. Like it takes a decades before you actually see the
That's
kind
as
of success.
fast as you can do it. That's as
Yeah,
fast as you can do it.
yeah.
So once you understand that, as you progress, obviously there's pain and suffering.
Mm,
You can pace yourself, and really it leads into next big point. And it's funny you bring up kids and sports and things of that nature. What you don't want to do is follow your passions. Like
right.
everyone says, follow your passion.
Follow your
I
passion.
That is the worst advice you can possibly get for your entire life. And parents
Can
say
you
it,
explain that?
teachers say it,
Yeah,
all these authority figures say it. They don't know what they're talking about.
right.
What you want to do is find an area that, whether it's a market, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, that you've got some talent around, you
Mm,
have some ability, right?
yeah,
You don't necessarily have to be quote unquote passionate about it, but you need to have some skills, some talent, some ability that make you successful in that area, whatever that domain is, whatever that focus is. And you know what the funny thing is? When you're successful at something, you get pretty passionate about it. You're like,
yeah,
I like winning. I'm
yeah.
pretty passionate about winning. So that's where you focus your passions. Don't follow, if you're passionate about origami, there's not a big market for it out there. I mean, it's neat. It's kind of,
Yeah.
wow, you made a pterodactyl with paper, but you're not going to make a living off of that.
Mm.
So, that's a kind of a definitely an outlier of a example, but does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense because right now I'm doing a podcast. I didn't know what podcast was like 3, 4 years back. So if I said this is my passion, like I wouldn't be here today because I didn't know that things existed because we learn along the way we go. Like 5 years from now, probably the virtual reality world gonna come and they're gonna create something else. Probably you and me, we won't be doing the same way we are doing like a podcasting. Probably have a mic, you have your own studio. Probably it's like a virtual world and we're both probably sitting. It feels like we are both in the same room and enjoying each other company because the environment looks like a probably more physical rather than like a virtual, right? So we don't know what's future is going to bring on. Like you say, like this is something I'm passionate about. In 10 years time, that thing probably not existed what you currently have, or probably something you're going to be passionate about in future. You don't know like these things are going to be existed in a time to come. So yeah, that totally makes sense because I didn't know what a computer was like 15 years back. Like I didn't
Right.
never used it
Right.
myself. And
Who knows is coming down the pipe.
yeah,
So
yeah,
look where your talents are,
yeah.
where your ability is. Certainly interest makes a difference. I mean, if you're completely not interested in it,
Uh,
but when people talk about passion, like what they wake up driven about, get passionate about success.
yeah,
That's what you need to be passionate about.
yeah.
So then that leads into the mechanics of that. And there's one thing that I can tell people that wins every time and what doesn't win. So
Mm,
what doesn't win, what you don't want to do is burn yourself out. So
right.
I see people like going hard over short bursts and just crashing, right?
Yeah,
So what I found is an immutable law is that frequency wins over intensity. So
right.
if you get in and do it every day consistently, as opposed to going really hard and then burning out, there's no question who's going to win, right?
Right.
So, I see it in working out. If people, they want to get in shape, yeah, how many times do we know, like, New Year's or whenever they're like, I'm
Yeah.
going to the gym and they go and they work 2 hours and they murder themselves, right? They are
Yep.
cooked. Whereas, and then what happens is, a week later, they're not going
Then
to the
they give
gym
up.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Half of the gyms are empty like in middle of February. So probably more than that.
100%.
Yeah.
And we
What?
all see this all the
Yeah.
time. We are
Yeah.
reinforced. Intensity does not produce results.
Yeah.
Frequency, if you do it every single day. So if you went to the gym every day for 20 minutes, that's all you had to do. All you do is show up and do something for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You get better and better and better. Within a year, you're in way better
Great
condition.
shape, great energy level, and everything.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
everything builds up over time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the patient, you have to be patient with it.
Every now and then you need a little intensity, but it is like just a smidgen, right?
Mm.
What you need is frequency. You need to get in there every single day, whatever you're working on, whatever your focus is, and you want to achieve, do that every day.
Yeah. And the
And then there's
overwhelming
one
thing is
more.
like it's going on crazy right now, especially in the US. A lot of entrepreneurs I speak to, like they're working 80 hours, 90 hours. Some of them like uh, posting on social media like how work hard they work, like Elon Musk, Patrick Bet-David. Like they say like if you're not working more than 100 hours, you're not giving your 100% in a business. But that actually doesn't actually make sense. In order to make money, like you don't have to be working 100 hours. Working like a 50 hours, 60 hours extra a week doesn't actually make sense to make you a billionaire or trillionaire. If you can look at like Warren Buffett, he works majority of day to day like work. He goes like reading books or like reading a newspaper or like a company shares and everything. He's not actually physically working on the businesses, but he made the most money. He become a number one in the world richest in 2012 or 2013 now, if I'm not wrong. So time working or like burning out yourself is no way to making wealth. Am I correct?
I agree. And I think what is hidden behind those statements, and a lot of that's PR, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people say like I work in, 80, 90 hours a week. That's to mask two things. Okay.
Mm.
One thing they don't say, one thing Elon Musk doesn't say is the reason I'm successful is because I'm exponentially more intelligent than you, which is accurate.
Yeah,
But he can't say that, right? That's not socially acceptable.
it's true.
So what does he say? I will substitute that I am way smarter than vast amount of people out there by saying I work really hard. Okay.
Yeah,
And I'm sure he does work hard, but he's really intelligent. And that does make a difference.
yeah.
Okay. The second thing is it's not about working tremendous hours. It's about stacking your skills.
Mm.
So what he does, and I'm sure every successful person does at that level, in most levels, is they say, okay, I have to get into the office X amount of hours. You just have to, right?
Yeah.
You have to be there. But in my off time, I'm going to do things and cultivate things that allow me to move my agenda forward in business also, whether it's socializing, whether it's reading books. So even though I'm not technically working, I'm still moving the needle in the right direction, you know? So if you count those hours too, literally the vast majority of awake hours a person is, they're working. But that's not the case. That's not really when
Really
they
working it.
say that, that's not how we're interpreting it, right?
Yeah.
So there's two reasons you always hear working 90 hours a week. One, they can't, it's not culturally acceptable to say I'm way smarter than you, that's why I'm successful. And two, they're not really telling you the truth, which is, well, I spend my time building out skill sets that I enjoy and that move the needle for me.
Mm. Yeah, totally. Because it could come to like a culture like now because they top leaders saying it like they work so hard and everything, and like a small medium-sized business owners they think like a way to success is like overwhelming themselves, like overwork themselves and
Right.
finding that's a success because they like just blindly following their kind of rules, and then eventually like burn out like after like working that pace six months or something, then their health falls apart, their relationship falls apart, and then they're in a chaotic moment. Then obviously when your relationship, your health's not with you, then your business start to drop because your mindset, you're not that passionate anymore, you're not that excited anymore, you can't see yourself like doing great things in the future, so eventually start to quit, right? So I think is the next don't will be like, here, don't quit. So
That
I
that
want
that's
you to
the final
explain
play. That is
it.
the final one. You just you finish it out. Just don't
Yeah,
quit. Don't
yeah.
quit. Because back to timing, right? Hey, you may be 5 years out till the timing comes. So
Mm,
just be in the game. You just got to be there.
yeah,
Like I can tell you, like there's so many scenarios where the guy who survives is the guy who wins. There are so many businesses out there that are run by people. You're like, I know I'm more capable than that person. How did they succeed? They just stuck it out. They were there when the opportunity came, and that's how they succeeded. So certainly having high intelligence is an advantage, but it's not a requirement. So it's good news for the
yeah,
rest of us out there. All you have to do is you have to be there. You have to apply your skill sets. You have to build your skill sets, right?
definitely.
Um, and if you're doing something that's innovative and is not just another, you know, same, then you're going to have a good shot. Now, I will say this, approximately 10% of companies succeed. That's the numbers.
Yeah,
And it's called a Pareto distribution. So we see this in nature and we see this in people and intelligence, everything. There's a small percentage that do most of everything, and there's a small percentage that win. So, it's not to discourage people, but be very clear in what you're trying to do. If you're not innovating, you have an infinitesimal probability for success of any magnitude.
yeah,
Um, if you're not trying to time it in the sense of just being there when the opportunity comes and not trying to force it in, then you're not going to probably win. And that is the number one. The academic literature is clear on that.
right.
If you're all passionate about it, then that's not, if that's what's driving you and you think that's going to sustain you because you love this activity, then that's probably not going to win. What you need to love is success. You
Mm,
need to, whatever the activity is, there's mundane parts to it, right? There's
yeah,
parts that just suck. So you got to be able to push through that. And, you just got to not quit.
stick
And,
around.
and back to the frequency thing,
Yeah,
you have to be there every day. You don't have to crush it every day. It's great if you can. There are great days you just come in and you crush it. Some days, you're just not killing it, but you're still there trying to move the needle. So that's it.
Yeah, just show up, isn't it? Just show up
Right.
and do your best wherever you feel like on the
Even
day.
when you don't feel like it, still
Yeah,
show up.
yeah,
Frequency, be there.
yeah.
So don't make more of the same. Don't jam it in till the time's right. Don't follow your passions, but be passionate about success.
Yeah.
Don't kill yourself with intensity.
Mm,
Win through frequency, and then don't quit. Those are your 5 don'ts.
that's great. And I have a question for like quitting. So it's an interesting thing, like don't quit. I know it's great, but sometimes you have to quit. And you feel like certain things is not working out the way it should be. You waited your time, the manners, and everything. But after giving your best shot at the business, probably the industry has changed. Probably things are changed, like the way you do business, the rules or regulations, so many things like out of control. So when it times to like no, like this business needs to change and I do something else because I gave you example, like I started my business as a restaurant business at the beginning, and I had to quit the business because of so many things. The profit margin wasn't there, like long hours, timing, customer service and management, and scalability is not that easy as like how I can scale my marketing company compared to the restaurant business. You know yourself, like in the distribution side of it. So like as an entrepreneur like yourself, when do you know like this thing is not working and I need to quit and start something better?
You gave a perfect example. So, starting a restaurant, right? It is actually, I think it's the most common business to start
Yeah.
on a global scale, right? So, there are the first guy who started a food truck that was innovative, right?
Mm.
That was innovative.
Innovative. Yeah.
But I would say most people starting a restaurant, the vast majority, you're not doing anything new, right? It's more of the same.
Yeah.
So once you identify, you're like, I just made my life a lot harder doing that, right?
Yeah.
Is that a
Definitely.
fair assessment?
Yeah.
So if you're not checking that box and you're not taking off, you're like, well, crap. I guess maybe I should look for something else to do, which is fine
Mm.
because you can learn a lot in that process. You can learn about business, you can learn about how the finances work, so you can port that over, so you can start compounding you're building your skill set, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be open to failure because you're going to fail more than you succeed. 100%. Like everyone does. You miss more shots than you make. You just got to take more shots. And the other thing is timing. Like if you come into a market, let's say a restaurant's a perfect example. Everyone knows it,
Yeah.
most common business. If you come into a market and it's a restaurant there's millions of them all over the world,
Yeah.
but the timing is it doesn't exist in this location right now. That's good timing, right?
Right.
But if you're the fourth one to enter a market where there's a not very heavy population, not great timing, right? So you can go through that checklist and say, am I checking all of these boxes? If you are, and if one's missing, let's say timing's not right. Well, okay, then I'm going to estimate when timing's going to be right. I'm going to build out everything else to
Mm.
get there. But if you're not checking those boxes, the final one is don't quit. You probably should quit because that's not the right place to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have to know like your inner calling as well. Like you should know like when to quit on something. Your gut's gonna tell you because you have to go through like all the process and you feel like it's enough. Like this thing is not working, and just a kind of like a common sense of things like how things is working in a business. If you're running it for like 3 years, 5 years, and you know how the market is evolving on the certain industry you are in, you're seeing like is it going to make any difference? Like you change a few things here and there, product wise, service wise, and if it's not making any difference, like the competition is too much. Probably in the restaurant business, like where I was in, like we are selling the same food like where everyone else is selling. So there is nothing innovative, like nothing is different, like as something. So you can start your own business if you have like a great talent or like a different kind of food you can bring in that no one else serving in the same location, then obviously you can make good money out of it and good business out of it. But if you're not like a creative, if it's not like something you are really like or enjoy doing, then obviously you're not going to focus on it and it's not going to work out as you should be. So yeah, we covered on 5 don'ts so far right now. So what would be like your one advice for entrepreneurs like who's starting out business or thinking of business? what they can do so get successful in the business?
Well, I think you have to really ask yourself why you are doing that. Why are you starting a business? And those answers can vary a lot, but whatever your answer is on that, you have to want that more than anything. You really do.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're not going to be, the probability for success is extremely low. If you want it more than anything, if you decide, you have to make a decision that this is your top priority. So you talk about, relationships,
Yeah.
your life balance, all these things. If you want to start a business, like and scale it, I'm not talking about like there's two types of business, right? There's lifestyle business, which is great, which is a business that you have a talent for, that you just like, you fit, right? You can do
Yeah.
this. And you make a decent living doing it. That's a lifestyle business. But if you're trying to build like something, scalable, you get really big and just see how far you can take it. So
Mm.
that's a different style of business, and that's a type where you have to be willing to understand all the sacrifices you're going to have to make, because
Yeah.
all the things you do, that's what you want. You've decided to get those things. And if you're checking off the list of don'ts, then what you'll find is you're going to dramatically increase your probability for success. You're going to find more happiness, even though happiness is, it's tough to keep in your life because there's always new challenges. And if you're that type of person, you're always kind of pushing yourself. And relationships are tougher. That's just the truth. And you just have to be willing to understand that and make that kind of commitment. I mean, there's tremendous upside potential. I mean,
Yeah.
you can be amazing, but it can also be heartbreaking and painful. So, but that's life. So,
Yeah, you have to live with that, right? Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, Eric, for coming to this show. We're coming to the end of this podcast. So those who are listening, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself, your businesses, where's the best place to find you?
well, like I said, we make innovative products for pain relief and skincare. And my company is Myaderm, Myaderm. And you can go to our website, check out our products. We we will offer you guys a discount if you see it on this podcast. So, the best thing, so we'll do for a discount code. So what's the full name of your podcast?
The Russell Show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll probably use your first name
Yeah.
and as our discount code. So is it RASEL?
Yes, RASEL. Yeah.
Okay, so
I
use the
can put the
discount.
link on the below, so on the
Great. So
description. So yeah, that can
we'll
just
use your
click
we'll
on it.
use your first name RASEL
Yeah.
as the discount code, and people get 20% off, and they get to try it, and 30-day money back guarantee. So if you have aches and pains, it's going to work. If it doesn't, send it back, no charge.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I wish you best of luck with your business and your career, personal life as well.
Thanks, man. Well, that was a fun conversation. Appreciate you sharing, and
Yeah,
all the best to you and your success.
same here. Thank you so much. So that's a
Bye
wrap,
now.
guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. So those who's listening, if anyone interested to learn more about Eric, go check his website. Also, if you want to place an order, I'm gonna put the link below. And yeah, get stuff and check it out. Until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.